Hey everyone, welcome back. I know I took a couple days off, but I am back. My name is John, and today we're going to talk about making time for ourselves, or me time, as we hear people talk. You know, what's your day usually sound like? I know mine is I get up early, I got to get the kids ready for school, get them on the bus, go to work, get home from work, take the kids to practice, make dinner, get the kids to bed. Next thing you know, it's time for me to go to bed and then start all over again today. And it seems like we get caught in this endless cycle over and over again, and we need to kind of break out of that and understand that we need time for ourselves. I know what you're thinking. Isn't that being real selfish? Time for myself? My kids need me. My family needs me. How could I dare take extra time for myself? Well, the idea is, let's look at it from a couple of ways. How long could you run before you just fall over? You just can't keep going. At some point in time, you need to rest, refuel, or do something to take a break from that routine, right? Have you ever flown on an airplane? As soon as they're going through, before you take off, they tell you, in the event of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will fall from the ceiling. And what's the next thing they tell you to do? Secure your mask before you help somebody else. What's the opposite of that? Well, let's say you're trying to help somebody else and you don't get to it before you pass out. What good are you if you're no longer able to help? So the idea is you need to take care of yourself first so that then you're in a better position to take care of everybody else. Because let's face it, our families do need us and we're important. So what happens when we decide, I'm going to take that selfish act and do something for myself? Well, a lot of great things happen when you take that rest. Even if it's for 10, 15 minutes, or maybe you're fortunate enough to get an hour or even an afternoon, maybe while the kids are busy with something else. So what happens? Well, one of the first things that you can do when you just take a step back from life, your brain gets a chance to reboot. You got all this stuff on your mind, to-do lists, things you're trying not to forget, and if you're able to just, let's say, write that down so you don't forget, set that aside and just take a moment to refresh yourself, your brain gets a chance to relax, clear your thoughts, and then from there, you can kind of refocus on what's next. Another thing it does is it's to relieve some tension, stress, and anxiety. I know between work and running the kids around and not having a whole lot of time to myself, I can build up quite a bit of stress. And that stress is cumulative. It just keeps adding on and on and on until our backs are about ready to break. If we can't find some method of removing some of that stress, mitigating it, and helping to just relax a little bit, even if it's through our rest, then it's going to build up to the point where we'll have a dangerous level of stress where it can have serious health effects. So we want to take that rest so that our bodies get that chance to reduce that stress and kind of start over a little bit. The next thing tied to the first one is after your brain has that chance to reduce or to reboot, you can then notice you'll have an increased productivity and some concentration. Now that we've removed all the things that are on our mind and bothering us, we can then when we're completed with our time from ourselves, we can then go and work on our task at hand. Sometimes we're guilty of over multitasking. I'm not really a big fan of multitasking in general because it seems like everything gets done halfway and nothing really gets finished, or not to the capability that you could if you just focused on that one thing. So sometimes we got to multitask, we got a lot of things to do at once. Other times it's nice to just focus on one thing. And that break helps us to increase that productivity and concentration so that we can get that one task that's really important to us completed to the best of our abilities. The next thing that happens is, remember I said, how far could you run before you just fell over? Well, if you don't take that break, you're not going to be able to prevent illness as well as if you had that right rest and other things. So take that moment whenever you can, 10, 15 minutes, an hour, an afternoon, whatever you can, make it productive to help preventing illness and relaxing. We talked about reducing stress, but it's also a great time to get in a quick workout, make sure that you're getting enough the proper nutrition and hydration. All of those things work together to help prevent illness by increasing the strength of your immune system. So make sure, again, it's all tied together. So make sure you're getting that rest in to work towards a healthier you. And finally, back to that airplane example, if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of others? Right? I know quite a few years ago, my son became very sick. And one of the first things the doctors told us was, you need to take care of yourselves first. Now this seemed crazy. My son was very sick, and to think that we were going to just walk away from him for a moment and take care of ourselves. I mean, granted, my wife and I could take turns, but the idea of not being at his side every moment seemed wrong. But the sooner I realized the truth in this, that I needed to take care of myself first, the better able I was to take care of him. You see, sometimes in the middle of the night, I had to be up with him all night, or take him to the hospital, or just to make sure he was okay. Well, how am I supposed to stay up and be focused on what's really happening in front of me and make good decisions to make sure he stays healthy and gets better if I'm so exhausted that I can barely stay awake? So what I did was I made sure that I took time for myself, made sure I got enough sleep, even if I had to sleep during the day because there were some long days in there. But I made sure that I took care of myself. I got my workouts in. I made sure I wasn't forgetting to eat, because let's face it, when you're under really high levels of stress, sometimes your hunger disappears and you don't realize you're not even eating. So I made sure I was getting sleep, exercise, nutrition, drinking enough water, and next thing you know, I'm feeling better, my stress is coming down, and I'm there for my son when he needed it most. So back to that airplane example. You need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your family. They're very important to us, but we also need to worry about ourselves, because if we're not around, we're not going to be able to help out too. So I hope you found these things helpful. Next time we're going to come back and we're going to start talking about some ways we can kind of carve out parts of our day to find that time or make that time for ourselves. And then we'll go into some ways to increase that efficiency so that the time we do have is used to the best of our ability so that we get the most out of it. Again, my name is John. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe down below, and have a great night.